So I started getting really concerned a few years ago about the amount of fibre waste, textile waste in our landfills. So I'd love to feel like I can just make a slight difference with, rescuing that, recovering that fibre, that fabric, that item of clothing that would be going to landfill, and using that, bringing that home, working with nature, working in my home with what nature can give me to bring colour, new life, new stories, new backgrounds to that fabric and fibre, to those items of clothing, and just making it, that giving it that backstory more. So it's something that already exists, and we're giving it, I'd like to give it more of a story, imbuing it with that colour and imbuing it with more value, giving it more value because it already exists.
And what are some of the plants that you've used?
So some of the plants are ones that my mother used. Sort of 40 years ago, she was dyeing wool, and she would use harakeke, our native flax. She would use onion skins. She would use eucalyptus leaves and bark. So I do use those, and then I use different things that I've experimented with. I use purple sage leaves. I use avocado skins and pips. Things that generally I forage for in my own environment. If not in my backyard, then in my neighbour's backyard, in the area that I live in. So very, very close to home, sort of a local foraging for products that don't travel very far and are very, very findable and usable.
And how does this action impact your emotional and social well-being?
So socially, I would say that the workshops I've facilitated using these fibres and using nature to bring colours to those fibres of the clothing and things, it just excites people. I can't stop talking. I talk a little bit too much sometimes about my excitement in colouring something, giving something a new lease in life. And if I can then inspire other people to get an interest in it, to do something themselves with thinking about rescuing textiles, rescuing fabric, rescuing fibre, giving it a new life, giving it a new colour, a new look, a new wearability, usability. Socially, that's incredible because it can be such a connective thing that just makes people get other people excited about it, about that journey. And then emotionally, a huge connection in my learning has come from my mum. 40 years ago, I would, sort of come home from school and she would be brewing up a big pot of eucalyptus leaves and the whole kitchen would smell of eucalyptus, and she'd be dyeing her fleece. It makes me feel connected to my mum now when I do my dyeing. So when I'm inhaling that steam from the eucalyptus leaves in my pots, it just feels like my mum's right there on my shoulder guiding me. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel capable. I feel privileged to use nature in that way. If nature's generous with me, with giving me a colour for that fibre, for that fabric, the clothing, I feel privileged to be able to use that. Yeah.